Hey everybody, welcome back to On Deck, episode 23. I'm Bill. That's Lloyd. That's Lloyd. I don't know where he is. He's somewhere. What's going on, Lloyd?
I'm right here. Right here. Not much, man. I am currently feeling the effects of eating a copious amount of highly salted meat because I went to a Brazilian barbecue last night. I feel worse than if I like drank a whole case of beer. I can't handle all this salt, I guess. But I'll try to make it through the show without drying up and cracking.
There you go. Drink lots and lots of water, man. But hey, this is not the Meat Cast. This is On Deck, a podcast all about the Steam Deck. If you are listening to this, you can see the video version over on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/nerdnest. And if you are one of the very first people here, pay close attention. There's going to be some free game codes in the like it'll pop up on screen on the video version. So big thank you to Athen Immortal for sharing those codes with us. If you want to support the show, you've got extra codes that you have laying around and you want to share them with the community, then get a hold of us on Discord and we can share them out with people who are watching the show. We really do appreciate Athen for sharing those with us. All right, Lloyd, what have you been playing
Yes,
this
sir.
week? What's on deck?
I haven't been playing too much this week. This has been a week where I've played in the little bits of time that I've had to play games. I've been playing Fortnite on some other like on my Xbox or whatever, just because it's a new season and I'm getting into it and playing that. But on my Steam Deck, I've been playing a mixture of games that have remote play together support and also some older games that I really adore and wanted to see how they run on deck. So I'll start it off. Capcom Beat 'em Up Bundle has been one of the games that I've been getting into. I'm a big fan of side-scrolling beat 'em up games back from way in the arcade when I had a local arcade that had like a Final Fight and a I don't know, Double Dragon and a bunch of other ones. And then they got into the newer ones like Knights of the Round, which was one of my favorite side-scrolling beat 'em ups ever. That is a game that is part of this collection, and it was recently on sale for half price on Steam. So I own it on the Nintendo Switch, but I'm like, I can't remote play together on the Nintendo Switch, so I picked up a half price copy of it on the Steam Deck. And dude, it is so much fun just going through and playing beat 'em ups again. We'll have to do some remote play together stuff because as good as side-scrolling beat 'em ups are, side-scrolling beat 'em ups are way better when you have friends and you're playing with your friends. So yeah, it's a great collection. I think there's 6 games that are in it, including Final Fight, Knights of the Round, and a bunch of other ones, Captain Commando, and a bunch of other ones. So definitely worth picking up, and I think it's still on sale for 50%
That's
off.
awesome. I may end up picking this one up as well because I love Final Fight. It's funny this morning we were having a conversation. Not you. He was sleeping off his meat induced coma. But we were having a
Nice.
conversation in the Discord about the upcoming Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game and that it's a brawler, and we were all talking about different brawlers like Streets of Rage, and I mentioned Final Fight because I loved Final Fight. I always thought Final Fight was a really, really great
Hmm.
game, and I played the hell out of it on my Super Nintendo. Man, I
Yep.
have so many games to play, and I don't need to spend money on this, but it looks awesome, and 50% off is a really, really great deal, you know?
It is. The one game it doesn't include, unfortunately, there was a Dungeons and Dragons arcade. It was a
Knights of
mixture of
Mysteria?
like a side-scrolling beat 'em up.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh,
Chronicles of
right, right, right.
Mysteria. So it's 50%. Sorry, I can't talk. I'm being assaulted by people in my door trying to give me stuff. I'm doing a show. I can't talk. So anyway, Chronicles of Mysteria, one of my favorite side-scrolling beat 'em ups because it is a side-scrolling beat 'em up, like with like an RPG kind of like grafted onto it, which is fantastic. That's not part of this bundle, unfortunately, but it is also available on Steam for 50% off. So I think I picked it up for like $5. Haven't played it yet. That would be my only thing that I would think is missing from this beat 'em up bundle. It has some of my favorites from when I used to be an arcade rat and going there and popping my quarters up and playing those games. So definitely worth checking out. And as you said, with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming, there's going to be a bit of a renaissance for side-scrolling beat 'em ups for a little while, because that always happens
Hmm.
when a big release comes out. So I could see a lot of people jumping in, and hopefully we can even maybe get some community games going or something, because that would be a heck of a lot of fun to play through some of these old games together.
Absolutely. I have been playing a lot of games, and I'll start with one, and we'll get back to you again. But I've been playing Blast
Sure.
Brigade versus the Evil Legion of Boy, I cannot say this. Nobody's assaulting me trying to give me things, but I cannot say this title. Evil Legion of Dr. Creed. I got this as a review copy, and I've been playing around with it. It is a 2D Metroidvania. It's got platforming, it's got shooting. The voice acting I find to be irritating, and I couldn't find a way to turn off the voice acting. Like I would like to be able to go into the settings and say, oh, just turn the voice down completely, because I'm not interested in that at all. The art style, however, is really, really good, and the animations are fantastic. Very reminiscent of Metal Slug in the way that the characters move. And basically, you're in a plane. Your plane gets shot down by the bad guys, and then you have to like rescue your team. And you go through, and you start off with this one guy, and he has like a grenade launcher or whatever. But as you play, you can unlock other characters, and then you can swap between those characters on the fly. And like each character has their own different abilities that you can pick up as you are playing through, because it is a 2D Metroidvania. So you can go back and revisit places that you visited before, now that you've got these new abilities, in order to traverse the what's the word I'm looking, traverse the levels in new ways and unlock new places. It's really good. I'm actually very, very impressed with it. My only gripe is the voice acting is, I don't want to say it's bad. It's just appealing to kids, I think. And I find it a little bit childish and irritating. That being said, the game itself is really good, and the gameplay is good, and the art is great, and the animation is awesome, and the level design is really good too, and the weapons are interesting. So Blast Brigade and the Evil Legion of Dr. Creed, I did it. There we go. Really, really cool game, and I think that a lot of people are going to enjoy that game. It's got a demo that you can download and check out, and it's $20 on Steam. So I definitely wanted to recommend that to people, even though I'm still very early on in the game. Oh, and the boss fights are really cool too. So that's a good game, and I'm recommending it. What else you been playing?
It looks really, really interesting. Well, I'm just looking at the Blast Brigade. That looks like a fantastic title. It reminds me a little bit of a game that I've been playing on Xbox Game Pass called Mighty Goose, which is a side-scrolling shooter where you are a goose, which is very much exactly like Metal Slug.
Oh.
They even have the announcer where if you pick up a weapon, it's like spread weapon, like completely the exact same as Metal Slug. So this reminds me a little of that, but with a little bit more kind of like platforming. I saw on the little video that was playing, there's some like boost jumping that you're doing to get over pits and around spinning blades and things like that.
Yeah, I'm looking at Mighty Goose now, and it looks really good. I love the art style of this game, and it's also available on Steam as well, and that is it's also $19. So you've been playing that on Xbox? Is that a Game Pass game?
Yeah. It is a
Okay.
Game Pass game, and it's good. So they showed at the start of the video when you brought it up, there was like a CRT filter. So they have all the filters if you want it to look like you're playing on an old CRT television, or not. And as you play through it, you get weapons unlocks, you get vehicles, and all these things. So there's some really good games that are very much Metal Slug games, and I love that because I'm a big fan.
Yeah, this looks really good. This is on my list. I'm going to add this to. Oh, I'm not signed in. I was going to sign in and add to my wish list, but I'm not going to do that right now. What else you been playing?
Nice. There was a new bundle that came out through Humble Choice, and it contains one of my favorite little indie games that I've played over the last couple years, called Pumpkin Jack. This is a game, if you've ever played like original PlayStation game called Medieval, this is very much like medieval, except you are a pumpkin head guy. So it's a 3D platformer, very kind of simplistic, kind of like go from point A to point B, but it's a heck of a lot of fun. Getting back to kind of like the kind of classic, I don't know, 3D action platformers from like the PlayStation 1 and 64 era. There's been a lot of really good games like that coming out recently. This one plays really well on deck. Unfortunately, it has a bunch of options where you can turn on like extra graphics and ray tracing and all these other things. And that your battery life is just going to take a hit. But if you play it with some of that, with that stuff turned off, you can get a decent amount of time playing through this one. And it is essentially a platformer slash collectathon. There's each level, and I think there's only 6 levels in the game, has 20 little crow skull heads hidden and one little gramophone. And when you collect the gramophone, you do like a stupid little dance, kind of like you're in Fortnite. Just fun. When you collect the little skulls, you can use it to unlock different costumes. So you can be Pumpkin Jack, or you can be Lumberjack, because you're wearing like a lumberjack coat, and there's a bunch of other kind of like plays on words for the different costumes and things like that. This is part of this month's Humble Choice that has a bunch of other games in it as well. So definitely worth picking up if you were on the fence about Humble Choice and maybe there's only a couple games you're interested in. Maybe Pumpkin Jack will push you over the edge. It is a great game. Definitely worth picking up and checking out if you like classic kind of 3D platformers.
Yeah, boy. For me, 3D platformers are very hit and miss. Like, I always want to like them. Like, I know everybody was talking about how amazing Spyro, like Spyro Trilogy is. And so I think I got that as part of a bundle. And then I installed it on my Steam Deck, and I really don't enjoy that game at all. And everybody else is like, oh my God, it's so great. And it's just completely unappealing to me. So maybe 3D platforms or platformers are. I tend to like Mario, like those. That's the 3D platformer that I like. But if you like 3D platformers, I love what they're doing with the art style for Pumpkin Jack. I thought that would look really cool.
Yeah, it's really good. They have like simplistic 3D models, but they have a lot of like lighting and things to kind of make it look fancy. So it has similar, I guess, assets to older games, but with like kind of modern, I don't know, bells and whistles thrown on top. So really great game. I've played it 2 years ago on Nintendo Switch, last Halloween on Xbox, and now I'm playing it on my Steam Deck because it was part of the bundle. I wasn't going to buy it again, but it's part of a bundle, so might as well.
Anything else in the bundle that jumped out at you as hey, this is really cool, and I'm happy that I picked it up?
I'm gonna have to look at what was in the bundle. I've been adding so many games to my library recently. Oh yeah, this is the one that has Phoenix Point, which is a really fun, right? XCOM turn-based strategy game, very much like XCOM. Really great game. It has a game that I've wanted to play since I've found it, or since I heard about it being announced and launched, but I'd never picked it up for whatever reason. It's called I Am Fish, and it's one of those games like Goat Simulator or other games like that where you're fighting with the physics as much as you're fighting with the stuff that you're trying to do. But you're a fish trying to get back to the ocean, very much like a Nemo sort of game. So I can't wait to play this one. I haven't booted it up yet just because I haven't had that much game time, but I really want to get into it. And it also has Super Hot Mind Control Delete as part of it as well. So if you don't have that one, definitely worth playing. Plus a bunch of other games, including Star Wars Squadrons, but that is unfortunately an Origin game, so you can't just install it through Steam, unfortunately. But yeah, Humble Choice this month is pretty decent. I keep canceling it, and then they keep saying, hey, why don't you pick it up for $8? And I'm like, all right, $8, might as well get it. And I've done that like 4 months in a row, so I'm never gonna unsubscribe successily from.
Well, hey, you know what? If they keep bringing you back, that means they're doing something right. So it's $8 a month
and $1 a game. I think it's $12 in the US, $11.99. But they keep giving me like $3 off coupons or $4 off coupons or whatever. So if I'm paying $1 a game, it's hard to argue with that.
This one I haven't paid anything for because it's not out yet. It actually doesn't launch until August 23rd, I think. This is, speaking of Humble, this is Humble Games, and it's made by one person, and it's called Midnight Fight Express. Lloyd, this one is right up your alley because it is a top-down 3D beat 'em up. It very much reminds me of like Streets of Rage, but from the top-down perspective, and it is
Yeah, it's like isometric kind
yes.
of. That looks
When I
really neat.
first saw it, I thought that it was a twin stick shooter because they showed off like I think I saw it during one of the presentations for Summer Game Fest, and they showed the guy with a gun, and I thought, oh, that's a twin stick shooter. That's really interesting. I like the art style. It's got a very low poly kind of art style, and you play as this guy who is like he's like like a sleeper cell kind of guy who doesn't know who he is, and then like they get activated because there's these criminals that are taking over the city, and you have to stop them with your fists essentially. And so you go out into the world, and I'm going to say the combat reminds me of Batman Arkham games, where like there's dudes, you're surrounded by dudes who are coming after you, and when they attack, they'll like flash, and you can hit the Y button to like block or parry or whatever, and then you can do combos, and as you're playing, you can unlock talents in order to make your attacks reach further, or that kind of thing, and you can also not upgrade, but like get cosmetics to make your character dress up differently. And like in Streets of Rage, where you can pick up weapons that enemies use, you can do that in this, and you beat on somebody with it for a little bit, and then that item breaks, just like in, say, Streets of Rage. Then you can also pick up guns, and then there's no reloading. When the gun is out of ammo, then it is now a melee weapon. You can use it as a melee weapon for a little bit until it breaks. It's a really, really cool game, and it's, again, there's a demo out now, and it runs fantastically well on the Steam Deck. So I'm highly recommending this game. It's really awesome. I think it's fantastic.
I just queued up the demo to download while you were talking, because that looks, exactly like you said, right up my alley. So I can't wait to check.
Anything else on your list that you've been playing this week?
Little bits. I didn't realize that the original Geometry Wars from Xbox Live Arcade was on Steam. And of course it is. I should have assumed that it was. But I was looking for something else, and I saw it pop up in my Steam search, and I'm like, Geometry Wars is on Steam and it's $5? Yeah, I'm going to buy it. I love this game. So Geometry Wars Retro Evolved, been playing that a bit on Steam. It is just as addictive as it was on Xbox Live Arcade on the Xbox 360. This was one of the first like Xbox small downloads that was available, and kind of took the world by storm. Played just a crap ton of that one. The sequels, not so good. They tried to make something out of a game that was already awesome. They tried to add stuff, and it was worse because of all of those additions. But the original one is very, very fun to go through and play again on Steam. So yeah, definitely worth checking out if you liked some Geometry Wars.
I did love Geometry Wars on the Xbox 360. I played a ton of that game, and I don't think I ever found another one that not just Geometry Wars, but another game in that very, very specific subgenre that appealed to me as much as Geometry Wars did. It was just so fun, and I love the super bright colors that they mimicked. What was the old retro quote unquote console? Vectrex? Was it a Vectrex that had the super bright lighting in the system? Am I right about that?
Yeah, the Vectrex was. Yeah, the Vectrex was. It came with a vector monitor.
There you go.
Kind of like the old arcade games.
I just love old Vector.
Yeah, it was really, really, really good. It brings me back to the days of the arcade when you're playing this one. Of course, there was no game like this in the arcade. The closest one, you were basically going around the circle, shooting down into the screen, and I'm blanking on the name of that game. Geometry Wars looks a lot like that, based on Tempest. There you go. A lot of the enemies in Geometry Wars reminded me of Tempest. So back when it first came out, that's the reason why I bought it. And then I stuck around for the crazy addictive dual stick shooting and just the insane particle effects that would happen when you'd get a really big kill and blow up a black hole that was about to pop, and just particles everywhere. And the number of times that I played this game with just a stupid grin on my face, or too many to count. And hopefully I can do a lot of that on Steam Deck. It's quick to boot into and play, so if you have 5 minutes, this is like kind of a perfect title to kind of bounce into on your Steam
Speaking
Deck.
of Tempest, I did just a personal shout out. I did an episode of 143 Pixels with Brian Ibbett, and that was his game that he chose for us to talk about, and it was a really, really fun conversation. So if you want to check that out, go to 143pixels.com. That's a 143 the numbers and then pixels.com, and you can check out that episode of Brian Ibbett and I talking about Tempest. A game that I tried and really quickly realized that it is not for me, and I was very surprised that it was not for me, is Turbo Golf Racing. So when I first saw this, I was like, oh, so Rocket League has these other versions, like it's not versions, that's not the right, other modes where you can be like basketball or hockey, and I really, really like the hockey one. I think that one's incredibly fun. And I saw this, I was like, oh, it's Rocket League, but it's golf. But it's not Rocket League. It is a different game, and it's called Turbo Golf Racing, where you have a golf course and you have a golf ball, and in order to win, you have to get your golf ball into the hole before everybody else does. And like, I saw this, and I love Rocket League, and I thought this is going to be absolutely fantastic. So I downloaded the demo and I tried playing it, and it's definitely a game that is, I think that a lot of people will really, really enjoy this game. It was not as fun as I thought it would be for me. And I think it's because it doesn't have that back and forth. Like, there's a constant back and forth with Rocket League where, you hit the ball, it's almost goes into their score, and then they hit it back, and you're in this much smaller area. And Turbo Golf Racing, you are just driving in one direction the whole time. And if there's, of course, like, you hit the ball through a circle and it gets like a boost or whatever, and there's things that you can drive on that'll make you go faster. All of that stuff sounds really cool. But just driving in the one direction and not having that back and forth of fighting with somebody else over the ball kind of took me out of it. And I just didn't enjoy it nearly as much as I thought I was going to. But I think for a lot of people, this is going to be a game that they really, really enjoy. And again, there's a demo available. It comes out on August 4th. So it's going to launch in about 7 weeks, but you can download the demo right now, and it runs pretty well on the Steam Deck as well. So that's a game that I tried and am recommending that people give it a shot, because it doesn't cost you anything to try it. I love how many demos there are these days on the Steam Deck. It's just fantastic. Does this look like something that's up your alley, Lloyd?
I like the look of the game, like the kind of super uber colorful worlds that you're kind of driving through. It reminds me kind of a little bit of Trackmania, since everybody's kind of on the same screen at the same time. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll check out the demo and see if this is a game that I'd like to play a little bit longer than you. I like you. Part of Rocket League that was always so much fun is that last second save and then driving the ball the whole other way and getting a goal. Obviously that's not part of this game. But I think this would be fun as well. This would be maybe a fun party game for the kids and myself.
I don't know if it has split screen. I haven't tried that. So I'm not sure if it has split screen, but if you guys have multiple PCs, then maybe you can play it that way.
We do. Yep.
All right. Lloyd bought, what was the bundle that you bought, and you ended up having an extra code for Monster Hunter World?
It's the humble Capcom.
Yeah,
bundle.
Lloyd bought the humble Capcom bundle, and somebody had already sent him a code for Monster Hunter World, which was awesome of them. Thank you for that. Yeah. And then he was like, "Well, I want to try out this other game in the bundle," and then he sent me a code for Monster Hunter World, knowing that I love the Monster Hunter games. I have Monster Hunter World on my PlayStation, but I don't have it on deck. So I immediately installed that, and I played it a little bit. Yesterday or the day before, I can't remember. I will say this: That game is just it's a battery chomping monster. It really drains the Steam Deck fast, much faster than Monster Hunter Rise. Not a huge surprise. The graphical fidelity of this game is a lot better than Monster Hunter Rise. Monster Hunter Rise went for a more like a something that was still pretty, even though it was lower poly. Monster Hunter World is more realistic looking, I think, and that is a lot harder for the Steam Deck to keep up with. Overall, it runs really well. I'll say that, and I immediately picked up a hammer and went into the training room and started like working on relearning that muscle memory because it plays very differently than Monster Hunter Rise. But if you are interested in Monster Hunter World, there's that bundle that Lloyd ended up picking up, the Capcom bundle. And
Summer 2022 bundle on Humble Bundle.
yeah. And it's a really good game. I know that you have it now, but have you had a chance to try it yet?
I installed it. That was a game in itself because it's like 50 gigs to install, so that took like an hour. So I played the make sure my screen doesn't go to sleep game, which is always fun. I have not installed it. And funny story, the game that I wanted to buy this bundle for because I've always wanted to play it and just never did, Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, doesn't work.
Oh
on the Steam
no!
Deck, and I didn't realize that before I bought the bundle. So I'll have to wait till my replacement PC comes in before I can even boot that game up to play it.
Yeah, well, I'm Lloyd has said many times I'm not a Monster Hunter fan, and I always go on and on about how much I love Monster Hunter. I don't think this is the one that'll get him to love it. I think Monster Hunter Rise is the one to get him to love it, but we're gonna try playing. I'll try and teach him what little I know about Monster Hunter, and we'll see if he has fun with it. Anything else that you've been playing this week before we move on to news stuff?
That is pretty much it. As I said, it's been a slow game week. Hopefully next week will be a little bit better.
All right, so this next story I put in is this plugin loader that somebody made, and I'm not going to try this stuff because like you have to go into your terminal and put commands in. And while it's not that I don't trust the person who made this because it's open source, like I can't look in it and figure out what it means, but other people can. And people are like, oh, that's really cool. But it's this plugin loader. So you can have plugins added to your Steam Deck. And then when you hit your quick access menu, it's got this extra icon that shows up, and then you can like turn on music or use Cheat Engine, whatever that is. But overall, this seems really cool, and I added it because I think other people would want to know about it. So make sure that you check out the link in the description. I am offering no guarantees that your Steam Deck won't like catch fire when you try it. All I'm saying is I thought people might be interested in this. Just a word of warning, you do have to go into your terminal and copy paste commands, so use at your own discretion. Is this something that you would do, Lloyd? Would you enable developer mode?
I don't. Yeah, I'd enable developer mode. I have no issues with that. I'm looking at the commands. Basically, all they're doing is just downloading an installation script to install all the stuff. So it looks pretty stock. It doesn't look super scary. The one thing is you have to make sure that you have to set a password on your account because I guess your Steam Deck user doesn't by default have a password, so you have to do that so that you can do an installation and all that stuff. It looks really cool. I don't ever want to install Cheat Engine. I know that's a big thing on PC for a lot of games.
Yeah, me either.
Cheat Engine templates that people download or whatever. Not for me, but what I'm hopeful is that there'll be some plugins in the future that will give me something that I really want to use on the Steam Deck. And the fact that it just plugs right into the UI, pretty awesome. I'm impressed. And this is, I don't know, version 1.0 that just came out a month and a half after the Steam Deck came out. So I'm assuming that this will be easier to install down the road, probably with a flat pack down the road. And hopefully it'll have some things that will, I don't know, that will be useful to me. Like say if you're an ESO player, having the mod updater downloader program running kind of like as a plugin here, so you can go right into that and make sure that all your plugins are updated or your mods are updated. Stuff like that would be super useful for me in the future. The stuff that's here now, not so much, but I'm really happy that things like this exist, and it just shows kind of the developments that we're going to get, since Steam Deck is essentially an open source console that people can run their own code on, run any code on, and or just blow it away and install Windows if you want. So you get some level of control and I don't know, configuration that maybe you wouldn't get on any other platform. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I would really like to see, speaking of Monster Hunter, one of the things that I do a lot is I will go to like one of the wikis and I'll be like, what's a good build for, I don't know, we'll say like the dual blades or something. And people will say, well, you want to use this helm, you want to use this armor, you want to use this bracers, these legs, this weapon, get these things. Then you want to socket in these gems or whatever. And you can't remember all that stuff. And so what I end up doing is I'm playing on my Steam Deck. I set the Steam Deck down. I look at my phone. I scroll. Okay, that's the next thing I'm looking for. Then I go into the UI and it would be really cool to load like that kind of stuff in that quick access menu where I could just hit a button, have it slide over and be like, oh, there's that thing. Okay. Close the quick access menu and have it all on one device. That kind of thing would be really compelling, and I would use it for that. I still don't know if I would go into developer mode just because that makes me a little nervous, but maybe I'm being a nervous Nelly. You guys can all tell me in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. But overall, I think that would be a much more compelling use case for me. And I can only really talk about what would be a compelling use case for me. Something else that it could be used for is somebody is working on this script in order to record the Steam Deck's display in game mode without any capture card needed. Now, I personally don't need this in order to record gameplay. But what I wish that there was, and the reason why I talk about this, is it would be really cool, like when you're playing on the Nintendo Switch or on your Xbox or on your PlayStation, and something cool happens, you have that button, and you can say, save those last 30 seconds of gameplay so that I can tweet that out and share this cool thing. I cannot count the number of times that we have seen really, really cool things happen in a game because somebody had something happen and they were able to capture that without having to think about it ahead of time. And I feel like that GitHub thing and this script could work together to do something like that, maybe some point in the future. Kind of drives me crazy that it's not built in. What are your thoughts, Lloyd?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you fully. The one disappointment for me when the Steam Deck was first announced was that there isn't a dedicated like capture button. And I know you can take a screenshot with hold down the Steam button and hit, I think it's R1 to do a screenshot. But it'd be nice if there's just like a hardware button that you could push. Maybe there'll be something in the future where there's a script that runs based on hitting a back panel button or something. One of the back buttons. Maybe someone will write a plugin that will allow you to do that in the future. Because like you, I'll be playing on my Xbox and I'll get just a ridiculous head snipe in Fortnite, and it's like, I want to save that. Hold down the share button and it saves a 30-second video. Having stuff like that built into the Steam Deck would be really nice. Hopefully that is a UI thing that Valve can add. If not, maybe, as you said, that plugin loader will load these plugins and we can trigger them. If the plugin can surface a control item for the Steam controller setup, and you could say capture video, a 30-second video or whatever it's called, and have that on like say the L5, that would be perfect for me. Hold it down, captures the 30-second video, I go on with my day. But this is really neat to capture without running OBS or an external capture card or anything like that. Just having it built into the Steam Deck is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I don't mind hitting Steam and the you're right about it. I think it is the right button. I don't mind doing that. I think that's perfectly reasonable. There's no way to record. You can take screenshots. Screenshots are cool, but gameplay, seeing a thing happen is so much more enjoyable to go back and say, oh man, remember when this thing happened? I just love that. And
Right.
look, the Nintendo Switch can do it. And the Nintendo Switch is a good deal less powerful than the Steam Deck. Of course, every game has very specific, like every game on the Switch was made specifically for the Switch, and it went through all of this testing so they would know whether or not like that capture button would work. And I do think that there's some games where capture button on the Switch doesn't work, and it's either because the developer didn't want that for some reason, or because it's, it can't do both things at the same time. I would just like to be able to say, yeah, you know what, go ahead and try it, and because we have have it on a per game basis, have that as an option. I can go into the quick access menu, go down to the battery settings. I don't know what that section's called. Go down to the battery settings and say, don't record gameplay of this game because it's just too taxing on the system. It would be cool if we had that as an option, and maybe end users can do that for us or for Valve. And then Valve can say, hey, they did a cool thing. Let's just implement that into our actual workflow.
Yeah. Yeah, even if it's as simple as you hold the Steam button and then hold down the R1 button for 3 seconds and it saves a video instead of a screenshot, having that built in would be nice, whether it's Valve does it or somehow someone does it through a plugin, through Plugin Loader, and allows that to be extended to record a video. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. And Valve posted this video. I'm not going to play the video because it first off, the video is hilarious. You should watch it. There's a thing with a dog and a blow dryer, and it's very funny.
Yes.
But they were talking about all of the things that they've added recently, and I was scrolling through this, and I was like, boy, first off, they have changed so much since the deck launched in, I'm going to say March, because February is really not when it actually launched, even though they say it was like February 28th. It's March. So since it launched in March, which is like 3 months ago, right? 3 months? Yeah, 3 months. It's 3 months ago. They have changed so much, and this isn't even everything. This list is just the stuff since the last time that they made one of these videos. So real quick, just going through it, they added lock screen, keyboards, achievements. They've updated that. Multiple Windows support, which at first I was like, why would you ever do that? Some games it fixes issues where you wouldn't be able to play them. External display support, which we talked about a ton on the previous episode. Per app performance profiles. They've made offline mode a little bit quicker. Somebody is asking me, by the way, in Discord this morning, they were like, what's it like when you go out of your house and you're trying to play a game? How does offline work for you? And I said, well, I never take my deck. I don't take the Steam Deck anywhere. It's just to play games in my house pretty much, because when I go places, I'm usually busy. But do you go into offline mode very often, Lloyd? Because I know that you take your deck with you when you go places, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Not very often, and in most places that I go, I have Wi-Fi anyway, so I can just connect to Wi-Fi and do that. So I've played in offline mode a little bit, but not as much as I should, but just because I have Wi-Fi in the places where I normally play.
Okay. They also said, they added in remote play and remote play together, and they updated the fan behavior. And they have an adjustable refresh rate now. There's so many things. Anything in here? What do you think is the biggest change, the most important change in this list?
I think the most important change for the bulk of people that are making the buying decision on the Steam Deck right now is better Windows support, because there was a large undercurrent of people interested in the Steam Deck saying, well, once it runs Windows and I can make sure that every single game I want to play is going to be supported, then I'll buy one. Well, as much as I don't want to run Windows on this thing, I know there's a bunch of people that want to. So having Windows work, having all of the controls for your TPM, having audio work properly, having multiple display support working so people can hook up external monitors, all that stuff is going to be very important for a lot of people out there. Not me, a lot of people out there. So seeing that talked about and actually highlighted in this video is a good thing for those people that are maybe hovering over the buy button right now, wondering if this is a device they even want to check out.
I think for me, the biggest change is the adjustable refresh rate coupled with the per app performance profiles. I think that's probably the most important change. But let us know if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, nerdnest.com/YouTube. Let us know in the comments down below which is of this list, and there's a link in the description down below the like button. Which of these things do you think is the biggest change or the most important change that they've done since the last time that they posted one of these videos? So many changes. It's just crazy to me. Absolutely bananas. All right, let's move on. Oh, go ahead.
Like even from when I was going to say, even from when I got mine, there's been just a ridiculous amount of changes. And you had a pre-release unit for like a week or whatever, and it was even like a bigger gulf between from when you got yours and I got mine. The amount that's been added and addressed. So Valve continues to just work away at adding all these amazing features to this little device.
And it's just 3.5 months. March, April, May, June, 4 months. It's 4 months.
Ridiculous.
4 months, and they've made all those changes. It's just bananas. All right. Lawrence Yang retweeted this tweet from Greg Coomer, both of who which at that's a sentence. Both of who work at Valve. I don't know if I said that sentence correctly, but these guys work at Valve. And Greg Coomer tweeted out the top 10 games on Steam Deck for the past month, sorted by playtime. Before I show this to you guys, I already showed it to them. Never mind. It's on the screen. I was going to tell them to make a guess in the comment section. Elden Ring was number 1. Vampire Survivors is number 2. Rogue Legacy 2 is number 3. Those 3 games are probably, that's mostly just me. Like it's just me. Those are the games that I have played the most on the Steam Deck. Although in the past month I haven't played Elden Ring hardly at all, but Vampire Survivors and Rogue Legacy 2 I've been playing. Stardew Valley, No Man's Sky, Slay the Spire, Hades, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, and Aperture Desk Job. Aperture Desk Job surprises me because that game, like that's, you sit down. Have you played that yet?
Yeah, it's like a 30-minute thing.
It's over fast.
You go through it, you have fun. You get super blown away at how the trackballs work when you're spinning the trackballs on the desk with the little pads on your Steam Deck, and it's like this blows my mind. But then you forget about it quickly. But apparently that's what everybody's doing. Everyone's playing it as one of their first games because it's in the top 10.
Sorted by playtime though. It's a half-hour game.
That's true. That's true. If it was supported by number of people playing it, maybe it would even be top 1, like in the top 3 or something, just based on those numbers. But yeah, this is an interesting list. Vampire Survivors and Rogue Legacy are definitely up there for me. I played a little bit of No Man's Sky just when I first got it, just to see how it ran. And of course, Aperture Desk Job. A bunch of games on this list I want to play, but I just haven't had a chance to yet on my Steam Deck.
We were talking about Rogue Legacy 2 on a previous episode, and you had run into a bug, you thought. And I ran into that same bug like the next day. Turns out, not a bug, Lloyd. So we have to go to the Sun Tower. So my brain said that the Stygian, I can't remember what the place is called, the Stygian Study or whatever, and the Sun Tower are the same thing. They're not. They're 2 different places. And you have to go to the Sun Tower and defeat a guy in order to get the Sun Lamp to go down to that place that we go to next. So we were wrong. It's not a bug. It's just we weren't going to the right place. And that's probably because, on my part, I don't read anything in that game. Do you read anything in that game?
I did. Like I was super happy finding those little like Navi sprite looking things that give you little bits of text. And I'm like, what do they have to say? Yeah, nah, I don't care. I don't care. I just go through and kill more guys. Is all
there you go. Well, and that's why we were doing it wrong. Is we missed out on one of the places. And I've been going to the Sun Tower and trying to get the Sun Lantern because I had to Google it to figure out what to do. Man, that place is really hard. Things do a lot of damage there. So that's okay, though. I've been having a blast with it, and I'm still working on that game. Out of this list, what game do you think you've been playing the most of?
Vampire
Survivors.
Very, very close to Rogue Legacy 2 in time played, I would assume. But when I have like 20 minutes and I want to waste time, I'll jump in and I'll do a quick run in Vampire Survivors just to get some more gold to amp up. Like I've bought all of the upgrades except for the like super expensive one. And I have some other ones to unlock, of course. But yeah, Vampire Survivors all the time. What an amazingly addictive little single stick shooter or single stick auto
Right.
shooter because you don't even get to shoot. This game shouldn't be good based on the lack of control that you have, but man, is it ever. It's one of the best games I've played
A
this year.
$400 device to play a $3 game, and you won't be sad about it. That's the thing that I always say. It's just so good.
With Windows 95 styled graphics too. Like it's not even a graphical powerhouse. It's as low rent as you could possibly get. And it is one of the best games I've played this year. It is such a great title.
So speaking of really, really good games, one of my favorite developers is Larian Studios. They made Divinity Original Sin, Divinity Original Sin 2, and they're still working on Baldur's Gate 3, which is in early access and supposed to come out next year. They posted a video to their YouTube channel about the Steam Deck, and their head guy, their front man, the guy who does all the talking, Sven, he was asked about it, and he had a couple of really interesting things that he had to say about the Steam Deck. And one of the things that he said is first off, he was blown away that when Valve gave him the Steam Deck, it had Divinity Original Sin installed on it, and it just worked. And they didn't do anything to make it work. And he said that kind of blew him away, that they didn't have to do any work to port their game to this, which whenever a developer has to put in the work in order to get their game to run on a new system, they have to do that math. They have to ask themselves, do I want to spend the money and the time and the resources that could be used on something else in order to get my game to work on this system? And a lot of times the answer is going to be no. I don't want to put in that time and work because I'm going to get the return that I'll get on my investment is X, and I need X plus 3 in order to get that to happen. And so a lot of times they say, no, we're not going to do it. Well, he said because they don't have to do any work, they are going to do work. And it's this weird thing that, like, their games just work. But he said that from now on, the Steam Deck is going to be a core aspect of their business moving forward. They're going to keep the size of this screen in mind when making their UI. They are going to try and utilize the things that are built into the Steam Deck, like the trackpads and the gyroscope and maybe even the touchscreen. And all of that is I think that there's a lot of devs out there that feel the same way that they do because it works so well and they're already making their game for Steam. All they really have to do is think about the control inputs and the screen, and that's not nearly as big an ask as a full port to another platform. And I think that you're going to see a lot more devs talking like Swen is from Larian Studios about the Steam Deck. Any thoughts on that, Lloyd?
It was just interesting to me to see a video released by a large studio. Like Larian isn't like they're not Capcom, a Capcom developer. They're not like a Microsoft or a PlayStation developer where they get a lot of support from like their publisher or their owners. But this is a larger group that makes really, really beloved games for a lot of different people. And for them to come out and saying, hey, here's a video just on the Steam Deck was really bizarre to me. You'd think this would be something they would post like a blog or whatever, not a YouTube video that's on their main channel. The fact that they're saying that this is going to be a core part of their support going forward gets me very happy, because if they're doing it, you got to think that a lot of developers are doing it. If they get a Steam Deck and their games just run, but there's one little tiny like rough edge, they're like, well, I want to fix that. I want to get in there and fix this. And if it's just a rough edge, I don't even need to ask my boss for permission. I'm just going to go in, download the code, make that little change, and then say, hey, can we release this? It's not like you are getting a dev kit from a completely alternate piece of hardware where you have to change core components of your engine to get running. It's just some little tweaks that they have to do potentially. So this is very exciting to me as a Steam Deck owner, that a lot of different developers are going to be focusing on the Steam Deck in this way. All of our games are going to run. They're going to run well. We're going to take 720p into account when we do the UI. We're going to make it so all of our games look beautiful on your $4,000 PC with ultra wide monitor, but it's also going to play really well on this little 720p or 800p screen. Gets me very excited. There was a really great video that came out this week by Digital Foundry that compared the Xbox Series S and the Steam Deck as far as, like, is the Steam Deck as powerful as the Xbox Series S? Because if it is, that means that newer games that are going to be coming out over the next few number of years are still going to run on the Steam Deck with Xbox Series S compatible graphic settings, or similar graphic settings, not compatible graphic settings. So seeing more videos like this from other developers is good. The hardware is going to be just or close to as powerful as current generation consoles. So that means that console games getting ported to PC will most likely run on this thing without a lot of monkeying. And for Larian to say this is one of our core things that we want to support going forward, I hope a lot of other developers have similar ideas, because this is the main place that I want to play games these days, is either on my PC through Moonlight or directly right on my device, and not running into issues with font size and other rough edges would be a very nice thing going forward.
Yeah, I do run into that a lot, where it's really like just things are just a little too hard to read. I run into that a lot with games. And I mean, most of the time I'm just like, well, it's fine. I don't really need to read that anyway. It's okay. But I run into it more often than I thought that I would. And I really, I hope that devs can fix that easily. I don't know how easy it is to go back and just make the font bigger. Like, is that going to completely screw up every UI element in the game if they try and make the font a little bit bigger? And if that's the case, then they're going to say, no, I'm not going to redo that. That's way too much work. But if it's an easy fix, then I think a lot of devs are going to say, you know what, we can't leave. That's money that we're leaving on the table. Getting that little green check mark instead of the little, what's the playable? A yellow thing. It's a yellow thing.
Yeah,
exclamation point? I can't
thing.
remember.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's not a green check mark. So. And I think a lot of devs out there are going to be like, I want to get that green check mark, because that's going to make people much more likely to buy my game, especially because the Steam Deck is just so like it's the hotness right now. I was marveling at how fantastic their cloud system is. Like, we were talking about this last week about whether or not, docking to the TV. And a lot of times I find myself saying, well, I don't know that I need to dock to the TV, because I have a pretty decent computer that would run those games better. And because Steam's cloud sync is so fantastic, I don't really need that. I can just come in, set my Steam Deck down, and have it charge, and then just pick up a game and play it on my PC instead of on the deck on the TV at a lower resolution, at a lower frame rate or whatever. The only issue is the controls are not the same, which is frustrating. Valve, you got to make that Steam controller too. But their cloud system is just unbelievably good, and being able to play the game on deck, set the deck down, and start playing it on PC right afterwards, and everything that you did was there, is awesome. Going to give you an example. Last week, Lloyd was talking about what was it? It was Fallout, right? And you said that you wanted to play all the Fallout games, and I said, hold off, don't pick up Fallout 4. I have Fallout 4. I will install it and try it out. And so here to report that it works great running on high settings. I didn't try ultra because I'd have to quit the game out and switch to ultra, but I was running it on high settings at 60 frames per second. It was running fantastic. I think I'm getting 2 hours out of that on high settings. So I would love to see what Lloyd does when he works his magic and goes into the settings over and over and adjusts things in order to get it perfect. The only issue being Fallout 4 requires you to close the game in order to change the graphical settings before you go back in, which is a little frustrating, but it works really well. But the reason I bring it up is A, to let Lloyd know, hey, it works. But B, my save from my PC was already there. When I installed it, I just picked up right where I had left off like 3-4 years ago.
So nice.
And it's so fantastic that I can do that. And I didn't even have to do anything. It just worked. It's very console-like.
It's really nice since Valve made the change to Steam Cloud that allows developers to update their game so that you don't have to quit the game to get that Steam Cloud save game upload going. Because I've played a bunch of games where you get like the Steam Cloud version mismatch or error because you didn't fully quit it out. But it's starting to happen now where I'm not getting that message almost at all. So I don't know whether these games have been updated to support that or if it's just a weird thing that's been happening. But playing a game that I've played on my PC, pick it up on my Steam Deck, and then go back to my PC when I had a PC. My PC is still in kind of in limbo right now, waiting for my replacement to come in. But it's been really interesting just to pick it up right away and your save is there right from where you left off. It's really like Valve does a really good job. Like they added Steam Cloud support, I don't know what, 10 years ago. Like it seems like it's been around forever. And I never realized just how good it is because I've used Xbox. Xbox is really good. I've used PlayStation, not good at all. And then Nintendo is like, what's the cloud?
Right.
Oh yeah, you can play this game. You can play this game at 640p. No problem. Yeah, that's the cloud, right? It's very surprising to me how well this works on Valve, but you can make things work really well when you have millions upon millions upon millions of people that are playing your games all the time. You can roll out a feature and it either works or it doesn't, and you know really quickly whether it works or it doesn't, and then you have all the people complaining on Reddit about how to make it better, and you can just go to there, and that's the well that you're going to get those ideas. But yeah, like you said, Bill, it works really, really well. And I love the fact that I can pick up a PC game, play it on my Steam Deck, and I'm right there. I can play Hot Wheels Unleashed, and all my unlocks are right there, even though I've never played it on my Steam Deck before. It's like magic. I love it.
Speaking of things that are like magic, next week is the Steam Next Fest. So after the Steam Deck was announced was, I think, the first time that I had ever watched the Steam Next Fest. And if you don't know what this is, I think that Valve needs to get better at marketing their stuff and letting people know about this, because I think that most people probably have never heard of Steam Next Fest. But I want you to think of the Nintendo Indie Showcase, the Nindy Showcase, right? And it's like that, but for Steam, and it's for 7 days. And they're going to show off hundreds of games. They're going to have a bunch of live streams, and they're going to have demos. Last time that there was a Steam Next Fest, I downloaded just a load of demos on my Steam Deck just to try out these games and decide whether or not I wanted to check them out. So that is happening. By the time you watch this, it will probably have already started. It starts on the 13th at 10 a.m. Pacific, and it goes until the 20th at 10 a.m. Pacific. So there's a lot going on there, and I guarantee we're going to see a lot of games that are on sale at that point as well. Have you watched the Steam Next Fest in the past, Lloyd?
I've seen clips and gone to look at certain segments of it when there's like a really cool game that was, say, coming to Nintendo Switch down the road. And I want to see what it looked like at that current time. It's not something that I've sat there and watched the entire live stream for the initial like the initial live stream or any of the other ones. I will be this year for sure, because I am all in on Steam and picking up all my games on that platform. So I'm very excited about this one. This was like the first time that I've never taken off E3 week because there wasn't an E3. So all these things happening is just so weird to me, because usually I'm sitting right here for like 8 hours or 10 hours or 14 hours playing games, doing content, watching these live streams. So I'll have to watch this one after the fact. Unfortunately, I'm working tomorrow, so I won't be able to watch this
Well,
one
I mean,
live.
it goes on for 7 days, so you couldn't do it anyway. I'm excited for all the demos that we're going to have access to, and all of the sales that I'm sure that a lot of stuff is going to be on sale. Speaking of sales, real quick, looking at the games that are on sale right now, there are tons and tons of games that are on sale right now. This one's going to appeal to you, Lloyd. Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom. I know you love that Monster Boy game. It's on sale for $10 right now. And that has, 67% off. Resident Evil 2 Remake is on sale for $16 right now. Scrolling through, I know I almost bought it, but I already have that on my PlayStation, so I don't know if I want to do that. The Witcher 3, I saw it earlier, but it's on sale, and I can't find for how much it was. I was scrolling through this list earlier, and I know it's on sale, but I can't see it right now. A Way Out is on sale for $7.50. I bet you that game would work really well with remote play together, because that's a game where it's like two players. You have to play it with 2 players, I think. But there's so many games that are always on sale. 30XX is on sale for $17. That's not a huge sale. It's only 15% off, but that's a really good Mega Man, Metroidvania crossover kind of game. So many games are constantly on sale on Steam. It makes it so cheap to try out all of those games. Anything jumping out at you on this list that I was just scrolling through, Lloyd?
I don't think so. The one thing that you mentioned, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Game of the Year Edition, is currently on sale for $13.99 in Canada.
Wow.
So that's probably what, $11 US or $10.99 US or whatever. And that is the one that comes with the Hearts of Stone and the Blood one, Blood and whatever, Blood and Wine.
Blood
I
and
think
Wine.
it's what it's called. Anyway, it comes with all the expansions for $13.99 Canadian on Steam. I don't own Witcher on Steam, which is weird. I thought I did. I'm going to buy the Game of the Year edition, because this is one of those games where you can come back to it after 5 years and just drop right back into it and play through and go kill some evil creatures with your silver sword after pouring weird potions on it. You know, the stuff you do in Witcher. That's a really, really good deal. Oh, there it is. $9.99 in the US, even cheaper than I thought. We pay $4 more, 40% exchange rate on Witcher 3.
I'll have to make sure that this episode goes out early in the morning, so that the people because this sale is over in 25 hours. So
there you go.
I'll have to have this episode go out very early in the morning, so the first few people that are here can see that the game is on sale for 80% off. What a good deal. That's like 200-300 hours of gameplay right there for $10.
Right.
And I have it. It runs really well on the Steam Deck. It's gorgeous on the Steam Deck.
Right.
All right, everybody. That is it for today's episode of On Deck. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. You could have been anywhere, but you were here, and we do appreciate that. I'm Bill. That's Lloyd. Lloyd, say goodbye.
Take it easy, everybody. We'll talk to you here next week on Deck. Have a good week, everybody.